Hello everyone, and welcome to this, my second of two videos, not in any way, shape, or form painful to make at all, on this, the Kiev 80, also called the Salyut-S, as we can see here in the Russian lettering. Salyut-S, that's what that says. Okay, so in the first video, we went over everything on the camera, and in this video we're going to talk about how to do everything. The first thing that we're going to cover, because there's no battery in this camera, don't have to worry about that, at least not this configuration. I think there is a light meter mount which has a battery. I don't have that, so we're not going to cover it. But in this, we're going to start off with how to mount a lens, okay? So I have two lenses for this. The other one is a gigantic 300mm 4.5. It's not going to fit in frame for this video. But so what we're going to use is the Industar 29 80mm f2.8, and if we start off by arming the shutter, that's going to be just, or the aperture mechanism, that's going to be just fine. And we're going to find the red dot here on the lens mount, the red dot on the lens, line them up, and then just rotate it clockwise until it clicks into place. We just push this button here on this side and then turn it counterclockwise, and then we can remove it. The next thing I'm going to show you how to do is load film. Right. So to load film, we have to remove the film holder from the camera right here. And you can see here the film holder, right? So the way that we actually go about loading film is we lift up this locking mechanism, turn it until it stops, and then this camera. Okay, and then we just pull it out. And this is the film holder. It looks very much like a Hasselblad film holder. So the next thing we're going to do after we pull this out is we relock it. And I want you to notice what happens here to these clips as I clip it to open it, or turn this to open and release, and turn it to lock it in place. You can see those clips pop out. Those clips need to be popped out in order for us to load the film. And I'm going to show you why, because, I mean, like, which one of these had the bad film in it? Not that one. All right. The way that these work is, here's a roll of film, and this is currently ready to be loaded into the camera. When we lock the camera, the film holder into the film back, then what we can do, what this does is this pops forward, and then when the film is advanced by the advancing mechanism, you can see that it moves through, kind of. It is kind of shockingly off plane. Right, this camera here. Might explain why the one photo I've gotten out of this camera was kind of blurry. So then, so basically the process of loading film is pretty simple. Here is your take-up spool right here, and you know it's a take-up spool because it has this geared assembly on it. So you want to have an empty roll of an empty spool here. Your film that you're going to load, you flip out this holder right here, and then you load it in just like this. You want to pull it so that the back, or the front rather, the black side of the camera, of the film rather, goes, or the black side of the backing paper that is facing out from the camera, because this is the side where the film's going to be. Make sure that these clips here are popped up, because the backing paper goes under these clips and then around under this guard right here, you can see. And then we're going to feed this into the take-up spool. Okay, so we'll advance this a little bit. We want to make sure that, there we go, we want to make sure that the paper is underneath those. We can now advance it until this arrow is right here. We're going to grab the film back holder dude right here, slide this in, And now we lock it in place, okay? So when we put this in the whole way, it will, when we put this in, it should, nope, it's not going to do it that time. It should actually just turn that to the correct orientation, and then we know it's locked when this flips flush with the back. Next thing we're going to do is now manually advance the paper by flipping out one of these grips, and we're going to advance it until we see the 1 inside of that window. There we go. Not sure how well you can see it, but there is now a 1 inside of that window. At that point, we close this, and then this stays closed until we're done shooting our roll of film. There should be a number 1 right there. Really don't know why there isn't. Anyway, then we just slide the back on to the camera. Hey, it's going to stay there. That's a nice change. Pull out the dark slide, and when we take a photo, now we just, come on. This does not feel good at all. I am not sure why this is not resetting the way that it's supposed to. It should. But, yeah, it's not behaving. I am clearly doing something wrong, and I don't remember what it is. Okay, so let's pretend that something in this video has gone correctly. Oh, man. Okay. Ukraine. It's the bane of my existence, just like the Russian armies. Anyway, okay, so you have finished your roll of film. You have fully advanced it. I'm not going to do that because I don't like the way this feels when I try to do that. But then after you are done, you lift this knob up, and then you pull. Oh, there was still film in that. Wow. I would like to tell you this was a fluke, but this happened with one of my rolls of film too. Not that it suddenly just stopped advancing. I was like, what's going on? Well, I'll take it into the darkroom. Why is there a big shredded film? Anyway, this camera. Oh, look at what it did to the backing paper. Look at that. All right. Then you take... I'm going to get this video on track, I promise. All right, next thing we're going to talk about, because something in this video is going to go right, darn it, is how to use Steinbeck, the flash on this camera. So in the first video, I pointed out that here's your flash PC port. This is the only way to connect a flash to your camera. So when using a modern flash, just make sure you're set to X. You'll want to have a flash PC cable, which is this. PC is Pronter Comper, and you just plug the cable into the flash socket just like this, and then this connects to your flash or an adapter that your flash connects to. Like they make hot shoe adapters that if your flash, like this one, doesn't have a PC cable port on it. And then with this, just make sure that whenever you use the flash that your shutter speed is set to 1/30th or slower. So anything faster than 1/30th will not work. And the reason is that when you take a photo, your first curtain opens and then your second curtain closes. And at 1/30th of a second, the entire film plane is exposed to light for a 30th of a second. And then the curtain closes, and then you reset it when you advance the film. At 1/1000th of a second, the curtains might follow behind like that. And at a half second, the first curtain will open, all of the film will be exposed for half a second and then close. So basically, the timing in the shutter is not exposed by how fast the curtains travel, though I will say that the curtains in this camera travel at wildly different speeds, even in the same exposure. But the timing is controlled by the length of time between the first curtain starting its travel and the second curtain finishing. So 1/30th is your flash sync speed, and you can there's no indication on the dial for that. You just have to remember that that's the flash sync. So with this, because you have an off-camera flash, you can hold your flash however you want. When you connect it with your cable, you can have it mounted on a flash bar so that it's next to your camera like this, which you can then use to articulate your flash as well if you wanted to do that. And if you have a flash with a tilting head, now you can use bounce flash. The big deal with bounce flash, of course, is that whenever we think of something that is lit in a flattering manner, if it's outside, we're under the sun or under street lights. If we're indoors, we're under overhead lighting. And so our brain is predisposed to seeing things that are lit from above as being things which are lit normally and in a flattering manner. So if you can have your flash off to the side of your camera, which you have to because that's the only way to connect your flash, and you can point the light of your flash up at the ceiling and then bounce the light off of the ceiling or off of a reflector or something like that, you're more likely to have better results with your flash. The next thing we're going to talk about here is the viewfinder. Okay, so we're going to pop up the viewfinder. One very common problem with these viewfinders apparently is you can see this strut right here. There is none on this side. Sometimes these rivets pop out. I actually had to break the strut off of this side because anytime I tried to close it, the broken strut would jam this. So that jamming issue is common with these cameras apparently. So just bear in mind that if you can't source another rivet, which I couldn't, you're going to have to break the arm off. And if you break enough of those arms off, which is like 2, you're going to have real problems with the focusing screen shade. So when you look through the viewfinder, what you're going to see is a plain matte screen. Let's see if I can show you guys what that looks like. Might be able to see that. And that's it. Like, it's just a plain matte screen. There's no guides, no light meter. It's really a very nice viewing screen because it's just large. It shows you pretty much what's going to be on the film. If you've ever shot a Bronica, a Hasselblad, anything like that, it's a pretty similar experience. And I will say that that's one of the things this camera got right, is that it's very pleasant to do framing and composition in the viewfinder with this camera. And now, the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to take a photo with this camera. So the first thing is you got to make sure that you have film loaded and it's loaded correctly. You need to have the dark slide out of the back of your film holder. Then you're going to use the focusing screen here to focus on your subject. You want to make sure that your lens is set to the correct aperture and that you have armed the aperture so that it stops down when the shutter's fired. You need to know your light meter reading so you can pick a shutter speed for the camera. And then taking a photo is just a matter of pushing the trigger down, and you can see how the aperture closes and the camera takes a photo. Just like that. That is everything that I've got for you on this, the Comrade Hasselbladsky, the Kiev 80, the Salyut-S. Salyut-S. A camera which has a cult following, but really is so very problematic to use at all anymore, unfortunately, because it does have a wonderful interface, and some of the Industar lenses for it are simply stunning performers. Thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you in whatever videos come next.